Now I'm going to tell you something that the manufacturers are not going to recommend that I tell you. Can I resharpen my expandable broadheads after I've shot them through a deer? Now I'm going to tell you something that the manufacturers are not going to recommend that I tell you, but I've been doing it for years. Yes, you can reuse expandable broadheads, you can resharpen them. There's a caveat there, is you have to be sure that you get that edge back on there. Now I know what everybody's going to say is they're going to say, you know, there's going to be knife guys coming after me saying you cannot resharpen a stamped blade on a broadhead. I've done it, and I've shot several deer with the same broadhead. I'm not saying that this is the best option, but it certainly is an option, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, best option, buy yourself some replaceable blades on your broadheads, and you're going to be good to go. You don't have to worry. Or use a brand new broadhead. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to save money and you don't have a lot of money to spend, I understand that some people are going to say, why can't I reuse this? Here's what I've done. Okay, I've got two different broadheads here I'm going to show you. One is a Sever, one is a Rage. I've used them both. I love them both. They're good broadheads. The problem that you get with expandables, especially the big cutting diameter ones, is if you shoot that through a deer, most times, you know, 6 times out of 10 or more, you're going to bend that blade, you're going to bend the ferrule, you're going to bend the tip on the broadhead, and you're going to have to replace the broadhead. A lot of times, though, you zip that right through the deer and you don't see any problems whatsoever. That's what happened with this Rage right here. But I know that it's dull because it went through hide, it went through meat, it went through, you know, bone, and it got through that deer. How can I sharpen this? First of all, I want to show you the test. This is not scientific. Basically, this is a sharpness test that I have used for over 25 years, and it works for me. I stretch a rubber band taut over something so it's nice and tight, and then I take my sharp blade. Okay, I've got the Sever. I've taken this thing apart, and I'm going to put that on my arrow, and I'm just going to touch. Now, the test of sharpness for me is if you just touch that rubber band, it should break immediately. That's going to tell me that this is sharp. So I'm going to get those blades fully deployed, and we're not going to, this is not a sharpness test. This is just showing that, is this sharp enough to kill a deer? I should not have to put much pressure on that rubber band, and it cuts right there. It's a clean cut right through the rubber band. It did not tear it. Clean cut. I know that this is a sharp broadhead. When I've shot a broadhead through a deer and I want to see if that thing is dull, I'm going to take this rubber band, another new rubber band, I'm going to stretch it across the frame here, make it flat, put my dull blade on here, and I'm going to show you how they lose their edge so quickly. These things are razor sharp out of the package. Look at that. Right across that rubber, I'm sawing on it, pushing on it. Doesn't even look like it's doing much to that band. That broadhead went through hair, hide, probably some rib bones. It's dull. And you're going to say, well, how can I sharpen that? Pretty easy. What I'm going to do is a little Smith sharpener. You can get these at any hardware store. Used for sharpening knives and whatnot. Just right on the blade. And I'm not going to go crazy on it because, again, that blade is not like a knife blade. I'm going to give it a couple swoops. I'm going to start with 5, flip it. I'm going to do 5 on the other side. It's pretty important to do the same on each blade. And you're just dragging it across there. Now let's take a look at the tip. This one's a little bit tricky because it's got that, it's almost, I don't know what they call that. It's a tip that's built into the head. If I had a perfect sharpening stone, I would just hone it a little bit on that sharpening stone. I don't have one here with me today. You can use my little Gatco sharpener here has it's actually like a little honing stick. I could use that. With that tip, you just want to see if you can get a little bit of an edge on the sides of that tip. It's okay if the very tip of the broadhead is blunted off. For me, I just want to make sure that's sharp and good to go. We'll give that the sharpness test here on a rubber band as well. What was it, maybe 5 or 6 swipes on each blade. Make sure these blades are deployed. Right there, look at that. I mean, that was as clean as can be. That was 5 swipes. The thing that I'm going to recommend is don't overdo it on these blades because you can round that blade off. It's going to be dull, and if it's not doing this, it's dull. If you have to push on that, it's dull. You don't want to use it. The most important thing is these blades get resharpened to that level of sharpness, They snap that band like that, you're good to go. Every broadhead is different, and it's going to take some tinkering on your part to figure this out.
You know, the one thing I love about Sever is that they come with many options. So you can have the same weighted head with different cutting diameters, or use the same head for practice before you go out. Let's talk about the different applications and options that are out there.
Yeah, let's look at the 1.5. The 1.5 is a 1.5 inch cutting diameter. That's really for the guys that want to pull out the stops with penetration.
Right, so people chasing elk, moose, bigger game, heavier bones, that 1.5 is just so much superior in terms of penetration that you really can't overlook it. Most common, I think, because most people hunt deer, 2.0.
2.0, that's really my go-to for most applications. Gives you a great big cut. You know, you get that stretch cut going in, so even if you didn't get full penetration, you still get a big blood trail. But that swept back design is going to add more penetration, and it's got that locking pivoting like all the Sever heads do. So as it encounters a bone, that blade will pivot out of the way but still continue to cut. So that's going to aid in making that head go straight through where you want it to without being deflected.
You know, and a lot of people don't realize this, but the blades are actually tucked inside the ferrule. They don't catch any wind, and aerodynamically, the wind and acceleration actually pushes them in, so that they're not going to deploy when they're coming off a rail. Even on high-speed crossbows or the best vertical bows out there, they are going to stay contained until they're deployed on the animal.
That's right, because the inertia with this forward pivot point that you've got here, the inertia of the shot is actually keeping those blades in. It works with that inertia instead of against it. So you're not going to have any problems with pre-deployment.
Right, and again, the rear deployment is awesome because you don't lose any energy within that.
When it opens, right. Then the last one in the line is the Robusto. It's also a 2.0. It's 150 grains because it's made out of stainless steel. So it's our strongest head. And that one is for somebody that really, it works for vertical bow or crossbow. We pitch it mostly for the crossbow because you really need that extra FOC for accuracy, but it's also, as the name says, the most robust head in the line, made at stainless steel and at 150 grains.
And it's really important to talk about that because most archers think that speed kills, but it is actually the kinetic energy and the penetration that's going to do the ultimate damage when you go after an animal, and that Robusto is like,
well, you've used it, I've used it, and it's deadly.
Yes, the Robusto takes things to a whole new level.
Yeah, and really we should point out, there's a Sever broadhead for everybody. Really penetration, is. All around, crossbow, whatever kind of hunting you do, we've got them.
You know, you even have a field point now.
Yeah, that's right. This is brand new. In fact, we're just releasing it right now. You know, there's a lot of shooting that we do in the backyard or at 3D. This is a new head that we have, or a new field point that we have, and we thought, you know, let's pay some attention to detail on this and make a field point that really has been looked at and is a premium product. So it's a bulge design. So when you shoot that into foam, it's going to be easier to pull your arrow. It's machined steel. It's nickel plated, hardened steel. So it's going to be really durable. And really it's not a lot of money. So it's a great value as well. And you can have a premium field point to practice with.
They come in different weights?
Yeah, we have different diameters to match up to all different arrow diameters and different weights. 100, 125, and then in the big one, we have a 150 to kind of match up with that Robusto.
Well, there you have it. There really is a Sever for everything, including practicing. And to go through the options and look at them, please go to severbroadheads.com.